I'm the reviewer. You review it, I review you. This is my partner, Mr. It.
Meanie.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at Pa's music movies and his look at the phenomenally weird Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I'm bored. Entertain me.
Pa, I'm not your own personal entertainment hotline. Look, why don't you just go watch a movie?
A movie?
Boredom. The absolute best reason to start a review show.
Wow, dusty.
Yes, I want to watch all of these. You want to watch them with me, don't you?
Not if you keep giving us that creepy smile.
Do you like movies?
Yeah.
Do you like music?
Yeah.
Sweet. Then you're going to love music movies. All right, where do we begin? I will start with Sound of Music. No, Phantom of the Opera. There's only one logical way to solve this.
A dartboard.
Logical. A democratic decision has been made. We are going with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. List of what really constitutes a music movie. The criteria, as it were. Those criteria are, now pay attention please, the movie in question must have at least 5 songs. What? I have a lot of movies I want to talk about, okay? The list cannot exclude that many. Get-Go with the iconic disembodied lips, which always threw me back to the mouth logo for the Rolling Stones.
Stood still, but he told us where we stand.
A clever and self-referential song to set the tone for everything to come. The song is an homage to the multitude of sci-fi and horror movies from the past that Rocky Horror draws influence from.
Science fiction.
Wow, this gal has a really nice voice. I wonder who's singing. Richard O'Brien? No, this is clearly a female singer. I mean, Richard O'Brien is the writer and the songwriter, so you've got to confuse it. It is? But it sounds like a completely different person from a completely different sex.
Well, obviously, you've never seen the one-man Disney movie.
Little town, it's a quiet village. Every day, like the one before.
The story itself revolves around the misadventures of always a bridemaid, never a bride, Janet, and straight-laced Brad as he musters the courage to ask for her hand in marriage, which takes us right into our full first musical number.
The river was deep, but I swam it. Janet. The future is ours, so let's plan it. Janet.
Most all the songs in the movies are comedic, which would make this a science fiction, horror, romantic, musical comedy, an often overlooked genre.
You would think.
It's an exceedingly clever song about Brad mustering up his courage and admitting his devotion to Janet. What makes the song so memorable is how it's punctuated with the deadpan Janet for every line.
Let's go see the man who began it. Janet. When we met in his science exam. Janet.
Personally, if I was trying to talk to someone and someone just went, Janet, I would get really annoyed very quickly. Alright guys, as we all know, we're taking a trip to Disneyland soon, so who wants to help me plan it?
Janet.
Ah shit, my computer's overheating. I gotta fan it.
Janet.
Sorry guys, but I can't hang out tonight. I have a big test tomorrow and I really gotta cram it.
Janet.
God damn it!
Janet.
Ugh!
Now, there's always been something that confused me about this part. You see way in the background here in the wedding photo? Look. There's a towering Tim Curry who will portray Frank-W-furter later on, Richard O'Brien, who's going to portray Riff-Raff, and then Patricia Quinn, who portrays Magenta. They have this odd aside, and then boom, please welcome the American Gothic backup singers. I mean, which are the real characters? Are they in disguise? Are they spying and making plans for future events?
Maybe it's just the director trying to be clever. And failing at it.
So the whole story is told to us from the eyes of a criminologist, retelling us the story of what happened to Brad and Janet, simply called The Denton Affair, on that dark and stormy night. and is played by the otherworldly suave Charles Gray, who you might remember from a few of the James Bond films.
That's why that transition looks so familiar. I knew I saw it somewhere.
What was the bang?
It must have a blowout.
In classic goofball horror movie fashion, the only salvation to be found is, of course, a gigantic freaking castle.
Naturally.
And as the laws of such movies dictate, Brad and Janet completely bypass logic and enter the grounds of Frankenstein Castle.
In the velvet darkness of the blackest night.
A quick but pleasant little tune to let us know that, in fact, yes, there are lights on in the castle. Someone must be home.
How awkward would it have been if they were just standing at the door knocking and turned out there was nobody home?
Hello.
We've arrived on a rather special night.
But this is but a prelude.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting.
To the weirdness.
Trust me, nothing is weirder than you putting your face 2 inches from the camera.
Doing the time warp.
One of the most famous moments from the film, and for good reason. The Time Warp is one of the catchiest tunes in the world, and once learned, cannot be unlearned. Curious of just how to do the Time Warp? It's just a jump to the left.
Put your hands on your hips.
You know, I always hated the pelvic thrust part of that dance. Well, let's just say I like to call it the nutcracker.
You guys know how to Madison?
From the high energy of the spectacle that is the Time Warp, we are finally introduced to the star of the show, Dr. Frank-W-furter, played by the scenery-chewing Tim Curry.
How'd you do,
I swear, I can't imagine anyone else in the role of Dr. Frank and pulling it off. I have never seen anyone so deep in a role and having such a laugh with it. It's astounding.
Well, let's be honest here. Any movie role that has you wear a costume like this, yeah, you really just go for broke, pretty much.
So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation.
The two are invited to remove their wet things, well, strips, and are invited up to Frank's laboratory, where the crowd is already assembled to witness Frank's great unveiling. So as an obvious homage to Dr. Frankenstein, what has Dr. Frank-W-furter created? Some ritualistic horror? Some shambling evil that we dare not speak its name? Some foul beast that... No, it's much worse.
He's invented eye candy! Ah!
Well, really? That's no way to behave on your first day.
What strikes me as bizarre is that after this song, Rocky becomes a rather childlike mute with no more lines of dialogue and a completely different and naive personality.
That's what strikes you as bizarre?
What do you think of him?
I don't like men with too many muscles.
I didn't make him for you. If we only...
Now this is a very clever song for two reasons. First, it's literal. Dr. Frank-W-furter can, quite literally, make you a man. Chances are he won't be making it for you, rather than for himself, but the point stands.
He'll do press-ups and chin-ups, do the smash, clean and
Second,
jerk.
it's about making Rocky
Dynamic tension.
more of a man.
Hard work.
There aren't enough E's in the world.
Say hello to Eddie, and also hello to the big screen debut of Meatloaf. We'll learn a little bit more about Eddie and why he's been stuck in a freezer later, but for now, All we have to know is that he's a party animal in love with motorcycles, loud music, drugs, and dry humping. After the success of Rocky Horror Picture Show, Meatloaf went on to bigger and better things. Well, he got bigger, all right. Frank, not to be upstaged at his own party, quickly puts Eddie in his place. This is to say, several places. It's a real shame, too, because Eddie seems like such a hoot to have around.
It was a mercy killing. He had a certain naive charm, but no muscle.
Is it sad that that is the least disturbing thing that Frank-W-furter does in this movie?
The scene bookends with a little bit more of I Can Make You a Man, again swinging the focus back around to Frank-W-furter. The guy is a complete narcissist, but at least he shares the spotlight for a little while with Rocky, but it's probably just because Rocky is his own creation and he wants to show off his new toy. The unpleasantness of the axe murder out of the way, Frank generally escorts Rocky to, the place where he'll be made a man? Ew.
I would like to refer you to my earlier statement.
Brad and Janet are invited to be overnight guests in the castle, and taking full advantage of the situation, Dr. Frank proves he is the master of disguise by sneaking in a little piece of Janet disguised as Brad. Frank is revealed and Janet fights him off, but not for long. In the interest of fairness and equality, Frank does the same thing to Brad, who gives in a little too easily. Guess he's not as straight-laced as we thought, but honestly, who could resist? Like the seeds of dissent are being sown. Riff-Raff and Magenta scare Rocky off and claim he just escaped his chains and they sick the dogs on him. Janet, while lamenting her decision to sleep with the creepy, flamboyant transvestite, discovers on a convenient monitor that proves that she is not the only one with questionable sexual tastes. She uncovers Rocky, cowering from his misadventures with the dogs, and she gets the bright idea to enact her revenge on Brad's infidelity and sudden smoking habit by seducing someone logical for a change. Well, looks like Janet was saving herself for marriage after all. Well, that's all out the window now, and she wants more.
More! Good! More!
All it takes to release 20-some-odd years of sexual repression is a little attempted rape, apparently, and she becomes a complete animal, almost forcing herself on the childlike Rocky. Then again, what must it do to a person when this is what you lose your virginity to after all this time?
Dark, twisted things that go beyond even your wildest nightmares, I'm sure.
The entire show is stolen with just one line. One line instantly pulls this song out from being just another song to something eternally memorable.
Well, I find it's more effective than the earlier one. Damn it!
Riff-Raff gets his rather unmerciful punishment for letting Rocky escape, but is saved by discovering that there is another visitor who is immediately recognized as Dr. Scott, a former teacher of Brad and Janet.
Dr. Everett Scott. You know this earthling.
This name is not unknown to the Transylvanians, and they react with hostility when they think that they all might be working together, seeing as he now works for the FBI involving the existence of UFOs. Gee, I wonder what that could possibly foreshadow.
Beats me. How about you, It?
Dinner is prepared!
All that sex makes a body hungry, so it's dinner time. And boy, oh boy, you could not make a more awkward dinner scene if you tried.
Challenge accepted. Alright, Ed. For starters, we're gonna need 4 sets of in-laws. Stat!
We came here to discuss Eddie.
Eddie?
Oh, thank God, the song. Anything to lighten the mood in this place. What's so great about the songs in this movie is that they're all short, sweet, and memorable. Here, Dr. Scott is allowed to get his groove on as he tells us all about Eddie and his rather troubled childhood. Turns out Eddie got wise to some evil deeds and he's sent out for help. Looks like help came a little bit too late, seeing that Eddie does become part of those evil deeds and lies comfortably on the floor of the walk-in freezer.
Or does he?
That's a rather tender subject.
Tender subject indeed.
Well, it's official. He's lost it.
Okay, so any and all pretense goes right out the window and all hell breaks loose. Frank tells Janet she's lousy in bed while chasing her all the way back up to the laboratory. Brad and Dr. Scott quick after. Frank decides that fun time is over and he glues them all to the spot with a machine called the Medusa transducer.
It's as if we're glued to the spot. So quick with fear, you tiny fool.
Brad tries to defend Janet, but naturally Frank turns him to stone. Dr. Scott stands up for her, well, figuratively, not literally. He gets the stone treatment too. Janet mouthing off, stone, stone, stone! Everybody gets the stone!
I think I finally understand how this movie got made.
Grow weary of this world! When shall we return to Transylvania, huh?
We are ready for the floor show.
The much-fabled floor show, and the big finale, which is comprised of a series of 4 songs, each with their own elaborate visuals. We have Rose Tint My World as our stone friends are de-Medusified and apparently are just fine with the fact that they've been kidnapped and turned into stone, and are in fact quite ready to embrace their new hedonistic lifestyle. As well as turning people to and from stone, the Medusa transducer is also capable of transforming Rocky's personality from his childlike mute self to his high-stepping singer self. Another clever song that explains a little bit about each character, what they're going through right now. Columbia was in love with Frank-W-furter before Rocky came along. Rocky is just as confused as ever and was apparently created with limitless libido for obvious reasons. Brad is trying to fight off this mind control but gives in eventually, and Janet, well, she is all over it. Even Dr. Scott embraces his sensual side.
You know, it's a good thing that this is one of those movies that doesn't have to be shot outside. Otherwise, it'd be really awkward passing by.
This is quickly followed by Frank's grand entrance with Don't Dream It, Be It, which is actually really inspirational, telling you to stop just dreaming about what you want and just do it.
Well, it's true. Inspiration comes from many shapes and forms. Even the creepily weird.
And what better way to prove that you released yourself to absolute pleasure than having your very first pool orgy?
I would question the sanity of this, but Lord knows we stopped doing that long ago.
This is interrupted and brought to an abrupt end when Riff-Raff and Magenta, sick of Frank's extreme lifestyle and back in their space garb, throw a coup and declare his lifestyle too extreme to continue on. No, not Frank-W-furter. He seems so normal to me.
What's with the weird Muppet horse voice there?
Riff-Raff gets bored, shoots him dead, shoots Columbia for good measure, shoots Rocky for not making up his mind which personality he wants to stick with, and then tells the survivors to fuck off before the entire castle takes off for home.
End of story. Goodbye. The end. Any questions?
So that's Music Movies Rocky Horror Picture Show. Pretty good for a pilot episode. But then again, Paul wasn't exactly new to reviews when this thing came out, so... I'm a reviewer. You review it, I review you.